Chapter 301, I'm not into it. The door to the bathroom was in the side corner as Tang Xiu walked there. His travel to Saipan had rather worn him out, so he really needed a relaxing bath. However, the moment he entered the bathroom, he got slightly surprised as a weird appeared in his eyes. Inside the bathroom were two beautiful girls wearing maid attire and possessing nearly identical facial features, evidently twins. What are you doing here? Tang Xiu was surprised. Hello, sir. We're going bath you, the beautiful twin sisters smiled and said in unison. Awkward and embarrassed, Tang Xiu waved his hand, no need. I'll bath myself. I don't need your service, so you two can go out. One of the girls smiled faintly, sir, we are here to bath and dress you. If you refuse our service, our manager will think that we aren't doing our job well and will punish us, since he'll think the guests are not satisfied. Don't worry. I'll call your manager. Please go out, said Tang Xiu. The twin sisters glanced at each other. Then, both of them nodded and turned around to leave the bathroom. Watching them leave, only then did Tang Xiu feel relieved. Though he didn't mind having a threesome in foreign places, he didn't have such a though at the moment. The seven goddesses dance piqued his interest, and he was eager to know what exactly it was. After taking off his clothes, he relaxed in the bath. After that, he then put on the already prepped nightgown and went to the hall outside. But then he came to a halt and fell into a daze. Inside the hall were 7 girls standing there in thin décolleté muslin. Each one of them was a la crème de la crème belle, with feminine charms exuding from each and every one of their gestures. Right at this moment, they stood there by the wall, quietly waiting. What made Tang Xiu crumble was that he could clearly see that these 7 girls only wore a thin layer of muslin with different colors: scarlet, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet, 7 colors. However, there was no other cover behind their thin muslins. With his sharp and keen eyes, Tang Xiu could clearly see the mysterious and profound areas of these 7 girls. Hello, sir. Words in fluent English came out from the mouths of the 7 girls. Shortly after, a fragrant breeze arrived as the 7 girls came to Tang Xiu's side. They were like orioles, swallows, and butterflies, as some of this bevy of enchanting young girls grasped Tang Xiu's arm while others gently pushed his back toward the sofa. Would you like to rest first and watch us dance, or go straight to the point? A girl in white muslin with a lovely oriental look asked Tang Xiu cheerfully. Cough, cough. After dryly coughing a few times, Tang Xiu said, let's get started. The girl in white muslin smiled faintly as she walked to the side, picking up a remote control and pressing a button on it. Immediately after, the sofa Tang Xiu was sitting on automatically separated as the wall split open into a few openings with muslin curtains and silk-like steel ropes. The sofa itself constantly changed and soon formed a bed large enough to accommodate 10 people. This? Shocked by the sight and despite the fact that he was experienced and knowledgeable, still, Tang Xiu didn't expect such a scene just now, completely changing the appearance of the room within just half a minute. Except for the reassembled bed, even the bedsheet and bedding had been automatically changed and neatly placed in bed. The thin muslin curtains had the 7 colors of the rainbow, which all had been tied up with Tang Xiu's sitting position at the end of the bed. Across from him was also a large bed covered with white gauze curtains, all of which were being laid down at the moment with the 7 girls all in the big bed. On both sides of the hall, a metal sink raised as a stream of water then sprayed out from it. As the lighting in the room dimmed and was replaced with kaleidoscopic lights, the room was then decorated with dreamlike scenes. That is... Tang Xiu's vision fixated on the floating multicolored lights and shadows all over the place. Those lights' projection were all the fighting postures between men and women on the bed in action. Ding! A jingle was heard, followed by an echo of melodious music. The covering thin curtains at the opposite side to the 7 girls began to move as their soft and tender bodies constantly changed postures and formed extremely alluring images. Mr. Tang, I'm the first goddess Scarlet Baby in need of your love. Just as the melodious music ended, the girl in red muslin came out barefoot from the opposite thin curtain as she walked forward step by step. Her slender white fingers gently untied the thin string on her chest. Immediately, her fair white chest with its proud twin peaks and alluring clavicle were all presented in front of Tang Xiu, even the lower part. Deeply furrowing his brows, the more Tang Xiu looked, the queerer he felt. As the girl's topless breasts appeared, he sighed inside, for he finally understood what exactly the seven goddesses' dance was. Shoo! His figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of the girl, taking the untied red string on the thin red muslin and retying it again. He then shook his head and said, "Let's stop here today. I suddenly remembered that I still have things left to do, so I gotta leave now." The girl in red muslin was stunned as her limpid eyes looked at Tang Xiu without blinking, clueless as to why he was in such a hurry to leave. From the thin curtain, the other 6 girls also appeared one after another, looking at Tang Xiu with puzzled expressions, also clueless as to why Tang Xiu must leave in a hurry as the program had just started. Could he suddenly have felt that he wasn't good in that aspect? However, they had been trained to satisfy all the guests' requests as much as possible and to treat the guests as gods. Hence, they untied their front clothes strings and stood stark naked before Tang Xiu. Tang Xiu deeply frowned and growled, "All of you go back to bed." Puzzled, the girl in white muslin asked, "Sir, could it be that our services didn't meet your satisfaction? Or is it because you're not content with our appearances?" Tang Xiu shook his head, "It has nothing to do with you. I didn't know what the program was before I came here to enjoy the seven goddesses' dance. Only after I saw your appearances did I finally figure it out. I don't need such a service." After having said that, Tang Xiu strode into the bathroom and put on his clothes back, leaving the hall under the 7 girls' weird gazes. In the corridor outside, Rival's graceful posture moved away from the wall as her slender fingers clamped a cigarette. Her expression was somewhat hard to make out distinctly as it was slightly lax. However, when the door on the opposite room was opened and Tang Xiu came out from the inside, her expression looked dull as she quickly put out the cigarette and watched Tang Xiu with a puzzled expression. Normally, she was not supposed to smoke here, because some guests didn't like the smell of cigarette smoke. But she relaxed because she thought Tang Xiu wouldn't come out and was in the middle of enjoying the seven goddesses' dance at this moment. "Mr. Tang, you..." Tang Xiu waved his hand to interrupt her and said, "Can you tell me what nature this seven goddesses dance program is?" "The nature of this program?" Rival thought for a moment and then replied, "We provide you with the best service and the best girls to satisfy any of your needs. However, any guests who dare to pick the seven goddesses dance also must be very powerful in bed. Not only can he satisfy himself, he must also be able to satisfy these 7 girls. We also have special rules here. If the guest can satisfy all 7 girls, we will only charge for the already set fee. But if the guest is only able to satisfy 1 girl, he must pay 6 times the cost, 5 times for 2 satisfied girls, and so on. But if the guest is unable to satisfy even 1 girl, he must pay 7 times the cost." While looking at Rival with a tongue-tied and dumbfounded expression, Tang Xiu finally understood why did Fatty Old Li showed that weird expression upon hearing that he picked the seven goddesses dance program. He also finally understood the meaning of what he said about the particular requirement of being strong. That goddamn bastard. Secretly cursing inside, Tang Xiu then looked at Rival and said lightly, "I'm sorry. I didn't know that the seven goddesses dance was this sort of program before. I picked it because I thought it was just an ordinary dance. But now, I won't continue it. Call Jasmine and tell her that I'm not a casual man that will go for any kind of woman." This, Rival was dumbfounded. Even in her dreams, never did she thought that Tang Xiu would actually speak such to her. Looking at Tang Xiu's departing back, she opened her mouth but didn't know what to say. If he was only an ordinary guest, she would have never let him leave so easily. He had picked the program, and even though he didn't play, He was supposed to pay 7 times the cost due to failing to satisfy the 7 girls. But Tang Xiu was not an ordinary guest. He was exempted from paying. Rival's expression changed a few times before she hurriedly took her mobile and dialed Jasmine's cell number. Vice President Jasmine, Mr. Tang said that he didn't know the content of the 7 Goddesses dance before, so he picked the program to find out what it is. But now he left after learning about it. He didn't play? Yes. He just left. I see. As Tang Xiu came to the first floor, he suddenly frowned when his sight fell onto a foreign man who was hugging 2 alluring girls and entering through the front door. He was not the sort of man who visited a woman and then walked away without doing nothing, nor did he like women who had been used by others. Therefore, he just glanced at the foreign man with indifference and walked to the door. Mr. Tang. Outside the front door, driving a roadster, Jasmine stopped in front of Tang Xiu, opened the car's door and blocked Tang Xiu's path. You just received a call from someone inside, didn't you? I don't like the 7 Goddesses dance program, so I'm going back. Jasmine lightly laughed. You're our VIP, Mr. Tang. So we will respect any of your decisions and will do our utmost to satisfy you. Since you don't want to play, please let me escort you back. Chapter 302, Traveling to the Sea. Tang Xiu glanced at the roadster and nodded, circling around the car and then sitting on the front seat. He then looked at Jasmine and said lightly, this resort of yours has a casino as well as this place. Are you not afraid of the local authorities' inspection? Looking at Tang Xiu with a strange expression, Jasmine lightly laughed. Mr. Tang, you don't know, but the bigwig who has real power in local government also owns shares in the resort, from which he can get a lot of dividends annually. So that how it is? Nodding and secretly sighing inside, Tang Xiu himself didn't feel like saying anything about the situation where such officials held protection umbrellas over the matters. This phenomenon was, after all, so pervasive that, let alone speaking about foreign countries, it was even a normal issue domestically. 2 minutes later, the roadster had been parked in front of the beach villa Tang Xiu was staying at. Well, good night, Mr. Tang, said Jasmine with a smile. Nodding to her in reply, Tang Xiu was about to enter the courtyard entrance when he suddenly remembered something. Ms. Jasmine, you should be paying attention to the sea meteorological news, right? Will there be a storm at sea tomorrow? Jasmine said, tonight's marine meteorological forecast reported that the sea will have calm weather tomorrow. Yet, I think this report is rather unreliable because of the rapid climate change in the ocean. Perhaps the weather is quiet for the moment, but then a big storm might occur a while after. Are you saying that the ocean climate is capricious? Asked Tang Xiu. Jasmine assented with a nod. That's exactly what I mean. Thinking for a moment, Tang Xiu then said in a deep tone, since the ocean climate is capricious, I need not stay here for long. Please tell Tom that we'll leave early tomorrow. Also, we'll be staying here after taking care of business. Copy that. Jasmine nodded. The next morning, Tang Xiu and the Mo brothers left Lao Bay Resort along with someone who was sent by Tom Reggie to escort them to the Red Sand Bay. By the time they arrived there, a temporary deck had already been built, extending for dozens of meters away from the seawater with the luxurious cruise liner parked there. There, Tom Reggie had long arrived and been waiting for Tang Xiu. Reckoning their arrival, he laughed and said, everything's been set up. I've sent people to sail for dozens of miles to the sea and everything is normal. Also, the crew, food, and drinks you need on your way have all been readied on the ship, enough for a week's sailing. Thanks. Tang Xiu smiled. You're welcome, Tom Reggie grinned and accompanied the trio to board the ship. As they arrived there, Tang Xiu suddenly asked, Tom, how much would you sell me this cruiser for if I wanted to buy it? Surprised for a moment and appearing reluctant, Tom Reggie then slowly said after a few seconds of silence, I ordered this cruiser from abroad, and the ship designer is the best in the world. The total cost of the purchase was $160 million. Sell it to me for 200 million US dollars, said Tang Xiu with a smile. As Tom Reggie's face flickered, he glanced at the silent Moan at the side, nibbled his teeth for a while and then finally said, "If so, it's yours. Then prepare the selling papers, please." "I'll pay you after we come back and sign the contract," said Tang Xiu with a smile. "No problem." Decision made, Tom Reggie immediately complied happily. Though the price offered by Tang Xiu was rather high, he still had eaten a loss. After all, Tang Xiu won 1 billion in his casino last night. The money was in RMB, still, it was around 100 million US dollars approximately. In other words, Tang Xiu only spent tens of millions USD to buy his cruiser. The ship then set sail after Tom Reggie disembarked. The blue sky and the dark blue ocean echoed with each other as it stretched vast as far as the eyes could see. On the front deck of the ship, Tang Xiu stood, braving the wind and waves of the seascape along with a faint expectation inside. He looked forward to arriving at the Nine-Dragon Island. As of now, the island was still under the management of the seller. However, news came more than a month ago that the other party was prepared to move the people there, while it was his issue about when would he receive the island. Prior to this, Tang Xiu had no free time. Thus, there should be nobody managing the island now. Nine-Dragon Island is located in a very particular location in the ocean where only a few people are supposed to be nearby. So I suppose there's no one there now. Upon thinking up to there, Tang Xiu faintly smiled. Regardless whether there was nobody in the island at present, even if there was any, he must drive them away from there. He was the owner of the island and nobody was allowed to there without his permission. "Boss. A call for you." Behind him, Moan arrived and handed him a satellite phone. After Tang Xiu took it, he then spoke in a deep tone, Tang Xiu speaking. A voice belonging to Gu Xiaoxue then transmitted from the phone, "Grandmaster, are you on the way to Nine-Dragon Island? I didn't disturb you, did I?" Hearing Gu Xiaoxue's voice, Tang Xiu immediately let out a smile and said, "It's okay. The ship just set sail." "Is there something?" "Yes, Grandmaster. Tianli, Hao Lei and the other two have come back and told Elder Ji about your command. Also, they came back and brought a total of 28 billion. Would you like me to transfer the money to your account, or should I wait for you to come back later?" asked Gu Xiaoxue. Tang Xiu thought for a moment and said with a smile, "Keep 18 billion and send me 10 billion. It would probably take a huge sum of money to transform the Nine-Dragon Island. Also, for the remaining 8 billion, after buying the ginseng, I'm going to keep it." "I see. Then I'll have someone send the money to your account later. Also, Grandmaster, what do you want me to do to assist your transformation of the Nine-Dragon Island?" said Gu Xiaoxue with a smile. Tang Xiu asked, "Does the Everlasting Feast Hall have a reliable construction company in Saipan? I am talking about a very large construction company here." "No, Master's operations were only limited to the country before. But I'll ask some people in our Everlasting Feast Hall and if anyone knows someone there, I'll have them look it for you," said Gu Xiaoxue. "All right," Tang Xiu replied. After ending the call, Tang Xiu handed the satellite phone to Moan and said with a smile, "I never expected that those 4 Hong Kong billionaires would actually give us so much cash. I originally thought that the money would be insufficient to reconstruct Nine-Dragon Island, but now it looks like the difference won't be too much." Moan's expression moved as he said, "Boss, you just said you're looking for a big construction company here in Saipan, didn't you? Tom is the local snake here. He must know about it." "I did consider this issue, but I'm not planning to tell Tom as I'm not sure of who he is exactly as of now," said Tang Xiu with a smile. "Boss, there's no problem with Tom himself since it's impossible for him to mix with others considering his character. Unless he can learn the abilities we learned, I think it's unnecessary to hide it from him. Besides, it's a due course that a lot of building materials would pass from Saipan once the reconstruction of Nine-Dragon Island commenced. When the time comes, it's inevitable for him to know about it since he's a local snake here. Tang Xiu was silent for a moment and then slowly said, let's wait and see first. We'll look for it from the Everlasting Feast Hall's people, if there's anyone amongst them who knows about a large construction company here. If there's any, we don't need to bother him, if not, then I'll talk to him again. Mo An nodded and no longer said anything. After 2.5 days of voyage, the ship finally arrived on Nine Dragon Island at sunset. As the ship stopped at an extended marina port, Tang Xiu ordered Mo An to stay aboard while he brought Mo Au to land on the Nine Dragon Island. They climbed all the way and quickly approached the palatial manor on the hill. Boss, something's not right. Overlooking the brightly illuminated castle, Mo An's brows deeply furrowed. He and Tang Xiu possessed keen eyesight and could clearly see that a lot of people were in the building a kilometer away from them. They also saw several people armed with guns in the periphery of the building along with some brawny men in camouflage attires. Tang Xiu nodded as his face suddenly moves when he was about to reply. He then shouted, "Who is it?" "It's me, boss." Wang Dong and another man quietly appeared from a huge boulder and came to Tang Xiu's side. He quickly looked toward the castle and whispered, "Special circumstances happened here, boss. We can't go in there temporarily." "What happened?" "Who are those inside the castle?" asked Tang Xiu with a frown. Forcing out a smile, Wang Dong said, "We arrived here a few days earlier than you did, boss. By the time we got here, we found that a group of pirates had occupied this place and most importantly, they also kidnapped hundreds of civilians. All of them are detained here." "How many people do these pirates have?" asked Tang Xiu. "There are more than 200 people," Wang Dong said. "Each one of them is armed with a gun. Wolfhead has investigated the situation in the vicinity yesterday, and a pirate found him, so Wolfhead killed that pirate. He then led us to hover nearby the 9 ports to wait for your arrival, boss. Contact Wolfhead and the others. Tell them to come here immediately," said Tang Xiu. "Copy that, boss." Wang Dong replied and quickly took a satellite phone. Half an hour later, Wolfhead and the other 10 arrived. "Boss, has Wang Dong told you the situation here?" asked Wolfhead. "He has." "Have you asked clearly from where this group of pirates came from?" asked Tang Xiu. "I have, boss. These pirates are the ones who operate in the nearby waters and have no fixed base. They have been here for several years and are barely able to get enough food and such because there have been few ships passing through this area. This pirate group is called the Bloodfish Pirate Group and is led by a man called Duff Sky, a ruthless wanted international criminal. After they arrived at Nine Dragon Island a few days ago, they massacred the people who stayed behind in the castle and successfully seized it." Chapter 303, Capture the Thieves by capturing its leader first. "You heard they kidnapped a group of civilians?" asked Tang Xiu. "Yes, I squeezed it out from a pirate's mouth. Because their operations recently are very bad, they secretly infiltrated Wake Island to get some fortune there as well as kidnapping over 100 civilians, and most are women." A cold light flashed in Tang Xiu's eyes. He knew perfectly well what kind of treatment and suffering the women who had been kidnapped would receive. Rarely did he have urge to kill, yet he would be merciless toward these pirates who committed many imaginable evils. These pirates must all be exterminated. Wolfhead said solemnly, "Boss, we have no weapons. And if we do fight them we'll suffer some losses even if they are completely decimated. I think we need to devise a plan and then act accordingly." "You've been here for so many days, what plan do you have in mind?" asked Tang Xiu. "We scouted the situation here. All members of the Bloodfish Pirate Group are in the palace and its surrounding and some pirates are guarding several places. I think we must remove these guards at maximum speed once we act, seizing guns from their hands, and then quietly sneak into the palace. It is best to find the ringleader, Duff Sky, first. As long as we can capture him, it will be easier for us," said Wolfhead. "Catching a bunch of thieves by capturing their leader first, it's not a bad plan. But after seizing this Dovsky, kill as pirates as you can without being exposed. The more they die, the less danger we'll have to face later. Oh, you and Wolfhead form a team with Dovsky as your target. As for the others, wait for action according to the plan, said Tang Xiu coldly. Understood. Tang Xiu then glanced at Moa and said, go and call on here. Not even one of these pirates can leave here. I'll go now, said Moa heavily. Soon, a plan had been devised and after repeated simulation to ensure there were no flaws in it, Tang Xiu ordered the attack after Moa and Moan arrived. Instead of joining Wolfhead, Moan, and the other 12 men, Tang Xiu quietly approached the castle as though a ghost. Due to his spiritual sensibility that covered a 200 meters radius and coupled with his keen eyesight, he soon came to the castle walls. It looks like these pirates are ready to settle down in Nine Dragon Island. They have installed surveillance cameras in many places of the castle. The coldness inside Tang Xiu's eyes was getting thicker and concentrated. He quickly hid in the groves after silently entering the wall. Right at this time, a drunk pirate carrying a gun came out of the building and walked towards his hiding spot. You're courting your own death. Tang Xiu coldly snorted inside. As the other party drew near 6 or 7 meters away from him, took off his pants and was about to pee, a sharp dagger ripped his throat, blood splattering as his heart was stabbed. Quickly, Tang Xiu deftly moved and pulled the body into the grove. Near the palace. 2 pirates armed with guns were chatting and yawning. One of them took out a cigarette and lit it. After deeply inhaling and puffing it out, he muttered downcastly, fuck. It's so good a night, yet we brothers can only stay here on night watch while everyone else can fuck those women inside. I gotta look for Second Chief and tell him that I want to change our shift to daytime. Another pirate grinned, be content with your lot. Those chicks have been terribly tossed about by us in the daytime. Even if you don't have night duties, will your stuff still be able to charge and strike? Who says I can't? Even if I already scored twice, I still can. He had yet to finish his words when a pair of big hands covered his mouth, along with a sharp Mitsubishi Army knife behind him that straightly cut his throat. As he saw his pirate brother dying, he also similarly had his mouth covered and his throat cut by the same knife, which then stabbed his heart, his consciousness then blurring. Wang Ming sent an OK signal to his comrade as they then immediately took the 2 rifles from the dead bodies and quickly lurked to the inside. At the same time, 6 other pirates who were on the night watch in 3 other places were also mercilessly slain. Their dead bodies were placed in a standing position on trees or on the wall, while all their firearms were taken away. In the grove behind the palace. Tang Xiu arrived here after circling around. With his spiritual sense, he could only cover 1/5 of the area of this magnificent palace. However, maybe due to his good luck, he had found Dovsky's location along with a stark naked woman beside him. He was sure that this man was Dovsky because Wolfhead had secretly taken a photo of him. The appearance in the photo was the same with the man. Whoosh. As though an agile spirit ape, Tang Xiu silently climbed up to the 2nd floor window and then quietly entered the palace. The room was a gym with a lot of fitness equipment inside. Evidently, it was left behind by the previous owner. Inside the gym was a pirate with a body full of scars hugging a sleeping woman with tears on her face. Puff. The pirate's throat was easily ripped open by a dagger as Tang Xiu then quietly opened the door and walked out without disturbing the woman. Soon, Tang Xiu killed the 2 passing pirates at the corridor and then smoothly snuck into Dovsky's room. Who is it? Vigilant as he was, the weak sound of the door opening awakened Dovsky from his sleep as his hands moved under the pillow in a flash. Puff. Tang Xiu threw the dagger in his hand and precisely hit Dovsky's hand as his figure dashed and appeared in front of him, punching his head fiercely and covering his mouth at the same time. Bam. Suddenly, Tang Xiu felt a punch hitting his back, causing him to let out a muffled hum due to the immense force. He instantly jumped out of the bed and saw that the stark naked woman had also jumped from the bed and made a fighting pose. She was also an enemy. Chilling light gleamed inside Tang Xiu's eyes as he dashed toward the woman. He wouldn't act and kill her if she was an ordinary woman who was taken captive, but never would he show mercy to the pirate because she was female. He shot without using his hand and knocked her down lightning fast, killing her easily. He then looked back toward the stunned Dovsky and secretly let out a forced and wry smile. He had just neglected the woman, abruptly coming to a realization. It was not only the man who was a threat to him, even the woman was also very dangerous. It was fortunate that the woman had no weapon, otherwise, he would have been shot by now. Perhaps he wouldn't die, but being caught off guard and getting shot in such a close quarters would make him injured. Furthermore, although getting injured was a trivial matter since bullets couldn't pierce his body easily, but as soon as the gunshot was heard, it would be very loud in the silent night and all the pirates in the entire palace would have been alerted. After looking for a rope, Tang Xiu then tied up the fainted Dovsky and directly left the room. By now, he could sneakily attack those pirates independently. The more he killed them, the less dangerous for them later. 10 minutes later, dozens of pirates were killed in their sleep. There were also dozens of pirates in the palace who were mercilessly killed during their farming work on women. As for these captured women who were almost all in a pitiful state, Tang Xiu and his men didn't kill them and directly knocked them out. Bang! The silent, quiet night was finally broke by a gunshot. Immediately after, undressed pirates roared and rushed out one by one, grasping their guns and shouted loudly, asking what exactly had happened and who had shot. During the confusion, Tang Xiu and the other 14 people struck and killed more than 20 pirates by surprise. Strike back. After Tang Xiu appeared beside Wolfhead and Immortal, he issued an order without hesitation. Fierce gunfight commenced inside the castle. The coordination between Tang Xiu and his men made these pirates vulnerable, collapsing at the first blow. After they took their shots, over 100 pirates had been killed since the beginning. Right at this moment, Immortal learned from Tang Xiu about Dovsky's room and brought him over as he then woke Dovsky up. "Who the fuck are you?" Dovsky immediately shouted after he woke up and found himself tied up with a Mitsubishi Army knife pressed on his neck. "I'm the owner of this island. Tell your henchmen to put their guns down and go the square outside the castle. Otherwise, I'll kill you first." Tang Xiu sneered. A glittering light suffused in Dovsky's eyes. He had been risking his life and had gone through numerous hopeless situations, but never was he in a more dangerous situation such as now. After staying silent for a moment, he then roared at the dozens of pirates who had been in the corridor, "All of you go to the square outside and drop your guns." The pirates looked at each other in dismay. They hesitated, because they knew that they would probably be killed once they dropped their guns. Bang, bang. A bearded pirate paced 2 steps forward and fired his guns twice toward Tang Xiu's direction. The target was neither Tang Xiu and the others, but the hostage Dovsky. His marksmanship was very accurate as one shot hit Dovsky's heart and another one hit his forehead, killing him instantly. Dodge. Tang Xiu's body flashed into the nearby room as the rest quickly hid in other nearby rooms, quickly opening the windows without hesitation and going out through the windows quickly. Chapter 304, They're Devils. A roar came from the corridor, followed by fierce gunshots immediately afterward. "Don't let them run. Kill them." Dozens of pirates rushed in, but after the door was kicked open, nobody was found inside and all the windows were opened. 2 minutes later, Tang Xiu and the others gathered in the lush woods behind the castle. Apart from one man who had a bullet wound in his arm, the rest were uninjured. Patting the injured man, Tang Xiu whispered, "How's your injury? Is it serious?" "It's fine," the man shook his head. Turning his head to Wolfhead, Tang Xiu asked in a deep voice, "Who is that pirate who dared to kill Dovsky? Is he not afraid of the other pirates killing him?" "That's the second leader of the Bloodfish Pirates. This accident is due to my poor plan since I forgot that these pirates are a ruthless and heartless bunch. The other pirates won't blame him for killing Duff's guy. They are not idiots, they surely know that they will likely be killed by us after surrendering, said Wolfhead. Tonight's action has failed, so we'll withdraw immediately. I can't afford to lose our people to some pirates. If they have the courage, they will continue staying inside the castle. But in any case, we'll continue the attack in the early morning, assented Tang Xiu with a nod. Boss, your next plan is? Said Wolfhead curiously. My plan is very simple, said Tang Xiu and grimly smiled. We'll find every opportunity to sneak raid those pirates constantly. Kill them one by one and as many as we can. All in all, I will kill them and make them so terrified that they'll run away. As long as they come out from the castle, they're dead. The rest looked at each other and assented with nods. They similarly loathed these evil pirates and had no hesitation to slay them. Late at night. 2 kilometers away from the castle. Tang Xiu and the rest hid amidst the boulders and trees, quietly watching the castle. They heard sounds of gunfire coming from that side and the roar of the pirates. The sounds were getting closer and closer. 10 men with submachine guns about 650 meters away are searching for us, standing behind the boulder. Wolfhead poked his head out to probe and whispered. Tang Xiu motioned the Mo brothers as the 2 quietly slipped into nearby trees immediately. He then said, Wolfhead, immediately attack them once they reach the vicinity. Do keep in mind to assign the task well and strive to decimate them completely. Yes. Wolfhead replied in a low voice. 7 or 8 minutes later. 10 armed pirates had caught up to them, but they didn't use flashlights because the enemies were hiding and they didn't want to be attacked in the dark. Whoosh. 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 Several silhouettes silently appeared near the 10 pirates. As daggers stabbed into their bodies, more ferocious attacks were launched as they screamed. Within just 5 or 6 seconds, the 10 pirates didn't even have time to shoot and were all killed, giving 10 submachine guns to Wolfhead and the others. Tang Xiu kicked the corpse of one of the pirates to the side and coldly looked toward the castle. According to Wolfhead's number count, the number of pirates in the castle should have fallen to less than 100. With 10 more of them killed now, the number of pirates lessened yet again. Soon, the 2 brothers, Mo An and Mo Ah, returned with 10 guns. They dropped the guns around Tang Xiu and then wiped the blood off their faces, saying, We also found 10 pirates in another direction, so we cleaned them up and also robbed their guns. Anyways, boss. Should we rush ahead again? A smile appeared on the corner of Tang Xiu's mouth as he shook his head and said, No need to hurry. We're now in the dark while the enemies are in the light. We just need to monitor the entire castle. Once some people came out, kill them. I must make those remaining bastards scared shitless, letting them know what fear is. How about me and Oz secretly sneak into the castle to kill some more tonight? Asked Mo An. Tang Xiu laughed, No problem. Of course, I will also sneak in to kill some of them. Wolfhead, you'll be responsible for monitoring the entire castle. Can you do it? Forcing out a wry smile, Wolfhead said, This castle is rather large and there are a lot of spots we can use to sneak in. We'll try our best though. Don't worry, they won't dare to come out so easily either. Even if they do, they will probably come out together, said Tang Xiu with a smile. It shouldn't be a problem then. The 12 of us will hold one spot each and seal off all the easy paths down the roads descending from the hill, said Wolfhead. Inside the castle. Ingelund was holding a submachine gun as he quietly sat in the palatial hall. On the floor in front of him were 78 dead bodies into a pool of blood. Those were the male civilians caught by them. He was in a dire urge to kill, for only blood could stimulate him so that he wouldn't fall into fear. The number of pirates in the castle, which numbered 242 men, had been reduced to only 96. After several losses, while the other party were but only a dozen. They were experts. And powerful ones at that. He was also once an expert, an ace of the United States Marine Corps. As a result of having a conflict with someone in the army and due to him killing the other party, he deserted and escaped the army. Years after escaping, he eventually took shelter under Duff's sky. However, he had never once seen such intrepid team. Even the top-notch soldiers in the Marine Corps he was enlisted in that year perhaps couldn't be compared to the other party. Second Chief, the third chief, Hutu sent 2 searching teams, a total of 20 men, and they haven't come back until now. Could they gotten in an accident? A burly, ugly and ferocious-looking man strode in from the outside carrying a submachine gun and dozens of magazines on his waist. Ingelund stared blankly before he suddenly jumped up from the sofa with eyes almost able to kill. He grabbed the big man's clothes and angrily shouted, "What did you say?" Hutu sent 20 brothers to seek the enemies. Yes, the burly man was somewhat frenetic and quickly replied. How long has it been? Ingelund roared. About an hour, said the burly guy. Releasing the burly man, Ingelund paled and slightly shivered inside. He had once undergone regular army training and went to many countries to carry out secret missions. Many times had he survived through the forest of guns and hail of bullets, so he knew perfectly well what the true strength of an elite was. These enemies were fearsome. Sending out 20 brothers, Hutu had just sent them to die. Fuming with anger, Ingelund said, "Where the fuck is Hutu?" The burly man said, "The third leader is deploying a defensive perimeter and assigning some brothers to stay hidden and some to stay visible as sentries outside. Thus, we'll be able to discover the enemies once they approach this area." Clenching his fist, Ingelund strode out of the hall and quickly found Hutu. Without any words, he dashed toward Hutu and grabbed his ionized scalding long hair, forcefully pulling it down and knee-kicking Hutu's abdomen, directly sending him into a shrimp-like shape as his body curled up and twitched on the ground. Following that, he ferociously kicked Hutu's body several times and angrily cursed, "You fucking goddamn idiot. Didn't you see the strength of the enemy clearly? We have more than 200 people, yet with only a dozens of men they killed more than 100 of us. Now tell me, have you seen this kind of enemy before, huh? Yet, you unexpectedly sent 20 brothers without my permission. You fucking bastard just sent those brothers to die. I dare say those 20 brothers have already been killed near the castle by now. What a fucking stupid pig. You know nothing about tactics because you, asshole, decided to send out the remaining brothers, causing us to receive great casualties yet again. You're no longer the Bloodfish Pirates' third leader henceforth. All of you, listen to me. Nobody is ever to listen to him again unless you want to be killed by him. Did you all hear me?" The dozens of pirates nearby watched as Hutu curled up and screamed on the ground. After which, they glanced at the furious Ingelund and finally replied loudly, "Yes. We heard it." Ingelund took a deep breath, grabbed Hutu up and said, "If you weren't the only sniper in our Bloodfish Pirates and because your loyalty to me, I would really have fucking killed you already. Do remember to stay with me from now on?" "Yes." Hutu knew how fearsome Ingelund's strength was, as well as his ruthlessness. Though he was somewhat resentful inside, he was still respectful toward the man. As Ingelund dropped Hutu, he then spoke in a heavy tone, "Call all of our brothers back to the castle and pack up everything. Collect all the weapons in the castle. We can't stay here any longer or else we'll be killed by the enemies." "As second chief, do you mean, we're running away?" an ordinary pirate leader asked aloud. Ingelund said in a heavy tone, "Though speaking about running away is rather humiliating to us, that's the truth. The enemies are way too powerful. I had once served in the United States Marine Corps and fought numerous top fighters from various countries in the world, so I know very well the strength of our enemies. Small in numbers, they are only a dozen people. Yet, be it their individual capabilities or teamwork, They are of the best and the most formidable bunch I've ever seen in my life. We'll die here if we don't run. And they will continue to sneak raid and kill us. Now tell me, do you want to die here? No. I don't want to die here. All the remaining pirates shouted loudly. Then run from this place since you don't want to die. We're pirates. Encountering a powerful bunch, we immediately run, meeting weak prey, we squeeze them out of all they have. So get your asses ready to leave this island. Yes. Chapter 305, Constant Harassing. Dozens of pirates returned to the castle and began packing up all the weapons and ammo as well as preparing enough food for the trip. Desperate criminals they might be, but dying was never something they wanted. They were pirates. They committed the most heinous crimes and were wanted by the Interpol. Yet, looting and plundering were what they felt to be in line with their work style. If someone could live, who the hell would want to die? For dying meant that there would be nothing left for them. A burly man came to Ingelund and croaked, "Second Chief, what should we do with all the captives? Kill them?" Knitting his brows, Ingelund asked in a deep voice, "How many of them are left?" "Except for the 7 you just killed, there are still 126 left. Our brothers have them locked up. We can kill them all at once as long as you issue the order," said the burly man. "How much food is left in the castle exactly?" asked Ingelund once again. "It should be enough for 2 months' provisions for our brothers," said the burly man. A brilliant spark glinted in Ingelund's eyes as he said in a deep voice, "Take 10 people and keep the rest here. And do remember to take all the food in the castle." "Humph, those people said that this place is theirs. I wanna fucking see how they deal with the rest of the captives." Huh, the burly man was puzzled. "Second Chief, why are we leaving them here? Almost all the remaining captives are women, even our brothers have yet to farm dozens of them. Leaving them to the enemies is way too cheap, no?" "You know nothing, idiot," Ingelund smiled grimly. "We're taking all the food and leaving the captives here, but they too have to eat. If those people don't care about the life and death of these captives, they will not give their food to these women and thus will starve them to death. But if they do give some of their provisions to these women, humph, would their provisions be able to support that?" "You mean," the burly was astonished, "you want to drag down the enemies with the women?" "Exactly," said Ingelund proudly. The burly man hesitated for a moment and then said, "Then why don't we leave all the women behind instead of taking only 10 of them?" Ingelund slapped the burly man's head and cursed angrily, "Are you a fucking idiot? Nobody can say if we can escape safely. For now, we can only expect that they won't ignore the captives. If they do, we can use those 10 as hostages to get away scot-free." "I see," the burly man scratched his head as his rough face grinned hideously. The bloodfish pirates moved very fast, which was something they rarely did. Within a short half an hour, all the weapons and foodstuffs in the castle had been packed up. Each and every one of them now carried a large bag as they quietly left the castle from the back, under the protection of 20 to 30 armed pirates. As for the civilian they held captive, all of them were locked up in the hall, as even all the windows were tightly nailed with planks. Halfway up the hillside behind the castle, Wang Ming and his comrade were hiding amid the thick patches of grass with mini binoculars in their hands, watching all the movements in the castle's surroundings. "Someone's coming," Wang Ming suddenly whispered. The other man observed for several seconds and then whispered back, "It's the pirates in the castle. They are seemingly about to flee." Wang Ming nodded, took out a satellite phone and dialed a number. "Wolfhead, the pirates are about to flee. They're carrying a large number of arms and foodstuff and are also holding 10 civilians. They are heading up toward the back hill." "Copy that. Be careful and take cover." Wolfhead's voice came from the satellite phone. In another direction. Taking back the satellite phone, Wolfhead looked at Tang Xiu and said, "Boss, those pirates are about to run away and heading toward Wang Ming's position. They should be taking down the trails there. And I suspect that their ships are also hidden there. Let's catch up and find the right time to strike and kill them. Tell the rest to prioritize their safety first, said Tang Xiu with a sneer. Roger that. Wolfhead immediately used the satellite phone and typed a message to the group. 10 minutes later, Tang Xiu led Wolfhead and the others to Wang Ming's location. Watching the leaving pirates on the curving hill road below through mini binoculars, Tang Xiu coldly smiled and said in a deep voice, "On. How many people can you kill without injuring the civilians if you were to ambush them?" "At least 10, said Mo An after pondering for a moment. "Then go. Also, throw them into confusion and make some trouble for them to slow down their escape." Tang Xiu approved with a nod. Roger that. Mo An and Mo A replied and soon disappeared into the nearby woods. Turning to look at Wolfhead, Tang Xiu then said, "Take your men and cross to the side. Try to set some traps in front of them within 20 minutes, and then kill as many pirates as you can." "Copy that." Licking his lips, Wolfhead replied and immediately left with the other 11 men. Tang Xiu stepped on the boulder and quickly chased downwards. He moved fast and as smooth as usual. Within just 2 minutes, he had caught up hundreds of meters behind the fleeing opposite party. Without being discovered by them, he then went into hiding. Bang, bang, bang. A series of gunshots were heard as several pirates in the forefront fell to the ground one after another. 2 submachine guns licking flames were as though harvesters that claimed the lives of the pirates in the forefront as though they were wheat. As for Ingelund, who was in the forefront, were it not because of his fast reaction to instantly grab a pirate near him to block the line of bullets, he would have also been shot dead. Scatter and strike back. Ingelund pushed the pirate's civ dead body and retreated into the bushes nearby like a cheetah. After rolling for several times and positioning himself there, he aimed the muzzle of his submachine gun at the direction of the shots. Bang, bang. As the dark-muzzled aimed to the front and the trigger was pulled, bullets sprayed as though a torrential downpouring. Branches were sent flying and rocks were scattered around. Yet, the sound of gunshots had stopped and the 2 enemy men had already left that position. Right at this moment, the other pirates who were carrying guns also began to counterattack toward the direction where the gunshots started. After half a minute of shooting, some people even had changed to their second magazine. "Stop firing and save your ammo," Ingelund growled. Immediately, the pirates no longer fired, but they still hid in the surrounding thicket, looking for the enemies through the slit of branches and leaves. Unfortunately, no matter how they looked for them, they couldn't any of their traces. This waiting game was exceptionally terrible. Intense fear engulfed the heart of every pirate, for they couldn't even see a shadow of the enemies who had ruthlessly shot dozens of their brothers. Looking through the branches and leaves at those who had fallen in a pool of blood, their hearts fell into the abyss. As second chief, what should we do? Armed with a sniper rifle, Hutu had been observing for quite a long time through his sniper scope, yet he couldn't find even a trace of the enemies. He carefully turned back and asked Ingelund, who was a few meters away from him. With coldness suffused in his eyes, Ingelund shook his head and looked at the back. He then spoke in a heavy voice, "Tell someone to use those civilians to block the guns, making them our human shields. If those bastards hiding in the dark were to open fire, let them kill those civilians first." Quickly, 7 or 8 pirates crawled up from the thicket and quickly came in front of the 10 civilians who were lying on the ground. After beating them for a while, they picked them up from the ground and pushed their backs. "Take the lead." The 10 civilians, 6 of whom were men and 4 were rather pretty women, were forced to help the pirates to carry the food and medicines. At this moment, they looked deathly pale with frightened expressions. 2 quite timid women even had their legs trembling. Please, I beg you. Don't kill us." A tall and big man suddenly wept like a little girl out of fright. His legs were trembling, lips shivering, and there even was a watermark in his crotch. "You fucking asshole. You got scared and peed yourself? The pirate behind him who just smelt his pee smashed the tall man's head fiercely, causing the badly beaten man to straightly fall to the ground. After that, he then grabbed the man again, pushing his gun against him to make the man lead the way in front. Tack! A stone suddenly came shooting from the distant thicket and accurately hit that pirate's temple. A bloody hole created, directly killing him. Quickly, the leaves and branches of that thicket swayed as a man's silhouette flashed. Down the middle of the pirates, Ingelund, who found that another man was killed, wasn't startled as he shouted loudly, "All you lot be alerted. Be careful not to be caught in a sneak attack by the enemy again. If those bastards dare to attack again and kill one of our brothers, just kill one civilian." Bang! A gunshot sounded as the badly beaten man's head was shot in the head by Ingelund and died on the spot. Hopelessness and despair filled the hearts of the other 9 civilians upon hearing Ingelund's words. They knew they were as good as dead. This place was a battlefield and not under the rule and law of the society. In this hellish place, a human could die at any time. Hiding amid the thicket, Tang Xiu's eyelids slanted after hearing it, the murderous intent inside him getting thicker. He just identified Ingelund. It was the man who shot and killed the Bloodfish Pirates leader, Duff Sky, the second leader of the Bloodfish Pirates. Ingelund. This bastard is ruthless and merciless, he must be the first one to be killed. The other pirate members will collapse at once without their leaders. However, the problem is the remaining 9 civilians over there. Tang Xiu thought for a moment and faintly felt that the situation was somewhat tricky.